happy Wednesday. Thank you very much for joining us, especially this early because we just opened the gates to come to the webinar. So thank you very much for being early birds. My name is Eddie Villanueva. I'm the membership engagement specialist, and we are so excited to have you here in another weekly Wednesday webinar. And of course, we're gonna go through a very important topic, which is pathways out of debt. Nobody wants to be in debt. So we're going to give you some tips to, in case you don't want to get in debt, or if you're in debt that you need some help, we're going to give you some tips that you can use in your personal finances. So thank you very much once again for being here. And we're so happy to see each one of you joining us. And I see, of course, I see some of, our regulars. I see Ms. Burns. Thank you very much. I usually see your name and I mean to give you a shout out, but it slips my mind. But this time I'm giving you a shout out. So Ms. Burns, thank you very much for joining us. We also have one of our own, Jeremy Hill, in the house. Jeremy, thank you very much for making time of your business. We know you're a busy man nowadays. If you know, you know. So thank you very much for being here with us, in a weekly Wednesday webinar. But we're so excited, like I said. And then, if you have any questions, just to give you, the information as usual. If you have any questions, please make sure you include them in the chat or using the Q&A feature. And Andrea, what is our commitment every single Wednesday for the questions?
To answer all of them before we end this webinar.
Answer all of them before we end this webinar. That's how she sounded, So we're just so excited to have you here. And please ask your questions, as the presentation is going, any questions that come to mind, whether it's relevant to the topic, or even if it's not relevant to the topic, please make sure you send it, because we want to make sure that give you the answer that you need. And with that being said, Kim, please take it away with the introductions.
Excellent, Eddie. Thank you so much, and welcome everyone to this week's Wednesday webinar. We are so excited that you have decided to join us this evening, and we're excited to give you some resources and some financial education about pathways out of debt, strategies for your financial well-being. Eddie has already introduced himself. We have Carrie, who everybody knows is from our marketing department. Andrea is from our marketing department. And before I turn it over to the man of the hour, Milton, our membership development officer, don't forget to use the Q&A, the chat. Please ask questions. We love it when you all engage with the panelist team. It's our favorite night of the week, and we appreciate and value your membership. So take it away, Milton.
Hey, Kim, thank you so much. Eddie, also, thank you for that. I just want to give everyone, because I know, as Eddie mentioned, we do have a couple of regulars here. So Eddie always does what we call the Eddie. So Eddie gets everyone hyped. So thank you, Eddie, for doing that. And good evening, everyone. Thank you all for coming on board and being here at another exciting weekly Wednesday webinar. So today's webinar, I think this is one that we get a lot of we get asked by multiple members that they wanted us to get in front of you and talk about about this particular topic, which in my opinion it's a very hot one. It's a popular one, obviously, and a lot of people oftentimes they're curious, right? They want to know how in the world do you deal with debt and get out of it? That's the most important thing. So again, thank you for making time. We know everyone is busy, and we most definitely appreciate everyone that comes in, makes time, and join us on this wonderful webinar that we got ready for you all this evening. So with that being said, we're gonna go ahead and dive in. Give me 1 second here. Perfect. So sorry, I'm having a little issues with my computer, but I think we got it back under control now. So my apologies. So let's take a moment really quick to go over the agenda. First, we're going to talk about a few initial steps to get you prepared, right? If you want to pay off all your debt, then we're gonna talk about 5 different options that people use to tackle their debt, and cover some of the what are some of those pros and cons that each and every single step is gonna include. Also, we know it's not a webinar if we don't wrap up with giving you guys tips and ideas on how you can stay on track of your goals, and how to better deal with your debt. So that is, in essence, what we have in store for everyone this evening. So thank you again for coming in. And again, as I stated at the beginning, we're going to start by looking at how to get prepared to pay off the debt. So that's going to be the first step. So you may ask yourself, sorry about that. So, you may ask yourself, right, what is the first step that you must do in order to prepare yourself to pay off your debt? So first, and this is going to be very, very important. I guess, in my opinion, that's actually the most important thing. And that is that you got to get a clear understanding of your current financial situation. And we all know this. Oftentimes, it could be a little intimidating, perhaps scary in some cases, depending on how much debt you have over your head. This can be something that is definitely very intimidating, but you know what? It is imperative for you to know where you currently stand, because knowing where you are is going to help you set clear, realistic goals, and most important, it's going to evaluate your options with confidence. So that's going to be the most important thing that you do want to keep in mind. So we start off by making a list of all your income. So this includes anything that you can count that comes in on a regular basis. So your paycheck, if you receive any child support, Social Security, any money that you receive, you want to make sure that you are keeping track and you have a clear understanding of how much income you have on a monthly basis. And this is a quick tip, is to make sure that you're not including overtime. We know that overtime sometimes can add more to your income, but in many cases, it's never consistent. So unless it's that you're going to be getting overtime on a consistent basis, then you can go ahead and include that as a monthly income that you have. If not, then we recommend that you leave that out, just because again it can vary, and oftentimes it can throw you off with whenever you are coming out with a plan to get rid of all of your debt. So again, it's very important that you do take that into consideration. Also, if you have any side jobs, any side gigs, side hustles, however you want to call it, it is important that you also include those, and also review your checking accounts. Go back to at least for the last 3 months and see how much income, and is it staying the same? Are there any months that you're getting more money or less money? That is going to be a key for you to know where you currently stand with your finances. And obviously the next step is to understand where your money is currently going to, right? So you want to review your statements, make a detailed list of all the monthly bills that you have, any payment obligations, as well as anything else your money consistently goes to, so such as your food, gas, childcare, entertainment, any subscriptions, or any other miscellaneous expenses. You do want to take all of that into consideration, especially if you are like me, that I have about 10 subscriptions, mostly for my entertainment. You do want to make sure that you add those in, because believe it or not, every little bit adds up and it has an impact into your finances. So we highly recommend that you take a look back at least 2 months to see to get a clear and accurate picture of how much you're spending on a monthly basis. And obviously, it's 2024, so highly encourage everyone to take advantage of their online banking features to see the actual, how much debt you have. And there's some financial institutions that actually provide a breakdown by different categories as to how much you're spending and where your money is going to. So that's going to be something that is very, very, very important. And also, last but not least, it's going to be extremely important that you make a list of all the debt that you owe. So knowing who you owe, exactly how much you owe them, your current interest rate, what are your monthly payments, and if anything is currently past due. That's going to be very, very, very important. So I encourage everyone to pull a copy of your credit report from all the 3 credit bureaus. So TransUnion, Experian, Equifax, and review your credit report to help you ensure that you're not leaving anything out, because that could happen. You could easily have an account and you forgot about it. And if they don't have your most current contact information, you might not be getting any communication. So you probably forgot about it. So when you pull your credit report, you'll be able to see that in there, especially if that account has already gone into collection. You might be able to see that when you're reviewing your credit report. And also, reviewing your credit report is something that we recommend for just about anything that is related to finances. And the reason for it is because it's important for you to understand where you are, what kind of debts you have, and most important, if perhaps you might be a victim of identity theft as well too. So we recommend that you do get a copy of your credit report at least once a year. That is recommended. And the most important thing is that we want to make sure that everybody knows here that getting a copy of your credit report is completely free. And believe it or not, you can actually now get a free copy of your credit report once a week. And you may ask yourself, where do I go to get that? Well, the answer is pretty easy. Annualcreditreport.com is where you want to go to get a copy of your credit report for free. So that being said, let's take a look into what are some of the options. So every financial situation and everyone needs to understand this. Every financial situation is unique, and taking the steps to get prepared are all important, as they're going to help you determine which option to pay off your debt may or may not work with you. So there is no cut and dry solution that is guaranteed to work best for everyone. And there are pros and cons to every option that must be weighed before you choose which option you want to stick to get rid of all your debt. I know getting rid of that can feel really daunting in most cases, and perhaps even impossible. It can be hard to know what options are even available for you. So not to mention the added pressure and stress of trying to determine what's legitimate and what might be a scam. So you got to be very, very careful. So we want to move into taking a look at some of the different options that might help you become debt free. So I think this is what everyone came in for. So let's dive in. So this is what we want to talk about today. So we're going to go and touch on 5 main options to get rid of debt. And doing it on your own is going to be the first one. Debt consolidation loans, debt settlement, also known as debt relief, bankruptcy, and last but not least, debt management. So these are the 5 options that we're going to talk and discuss and go in details, tell you what are the pros and the cons for every option, and see, perhaps while we're going over this, do a self-evaluation and see which one makes more sense for me. So without any further delays, let's go ahead and talk about the first ones. And the chances are that you're probably already doing this one, and that is trying to pay your debt on your own without an actual plan. And you probably might be a little limited because you're just trying to go and stay on top of all your debt, and you're trying to continue to make those minimum payments or monthly payments. And you see that you have all this money that is leaving, all those payments that you're making, and you feel like, man, I'm not making a dent into all of my debt. So again, the first option here is to we want to encourage everyone to explore all the different options. And this first one again which is the one that you do on your own. Know that there are different strategies that you can implement if this is an avenue that you want to explore. So if this is you, we want you to consider a couple of options here. There's actually 2 of them that we want to discuss with you. And the first one that we want to tell you about is a particular method known as the debt snowball, which is a strategy where you pay off the debt in order of the smallest to the largest. And when you do this, you're going to gain a momentum as you go. it is extremely important to make sure you always make the minimum payments on all of the other accounts. And then any extra money that you have, you're going to put it towards the smallest account balance. And that itself is going to create a momentum, because guess what happens? Once that account is paid off, you're going to feel a sense of success, and it's going to get the momentum that you need to continue to make the payments on the other debts and continue in that order. So any payments that you were making, any extra payments that you were making into the smallest debt, now is going to go to the next debt, and you will continue until you have completely paid off everything. And again, the reason why this is called the debt snowball method is because, again, it's like you're starting small, you paying the smallest first, and as you are accumulating, it becomes bigger and bigger and bigger until eventually, you know what? You have a big snowball and all your debt is wiped away. So that would be the first method that we want to talk about. The second one is very similar, and there's, I don't know if there's a reason why we are connecting this with snow. I mean, I actually like snow, but but the next method that we want to talk about is going to be the avalanche method, which is the strategy where you are pretty much is very similar to the snowball. It's just that with this one, what are you doing is, instead of paying the smallest debt first, what you're going to do with this particular method is that you actually are going to pay off the debt that has the highest interest rate. So you first start paying off any debt that has the highest interest rate and work your way down. Again, the key in here is that you get the momentum. Once you pay off the first biggest debt that you have, then you move down until you are completely debt free. So very, very important for you to take a look into this two different types of methods. They actually are pretty great. The biggest thing on this one, in my opinion, is that it gives you the sense of of little victories that you get every time you pay off a debt. That itself, it's a small win, but mentally you know that you are on the right path to become debt free. So it's very, very important. And finally, you could approach each creditor and ask if they can offer any internal hardship programs or promotions to help you lower your interest rates and stop any late fees to allow you to pay the debt faster. So make sure you're keeping track of the conversations with the creditors when you speak with them. You want to make sure you're writing down the name of the person and what was agreed to. Review your budget, to ensure that you are not agreeing to something that is not realistic for you to follow through. So very important. So this last one, again, here, it's also very important. And oftentimes people don't know this, but guess what? You could pick up the phone and call every creditor yourself and see if they have any programs available, especially hardship, to and see if you can qualify, if they can put you on that program, and come up with a strategy, come up with an agreement so that you can pay your debt. So as I mentioned earlier, every option has a unique pros and cons, which we're going to take a look at each option and discuss today. So the pros of all of those three options that we just talked about is that there's really no financial costs. And the reason for it is because you're doing it on your own. So you don't have to pay anything. You wouldn't have to apply or be a subject to any underwriting for approval requirements. Some creditors may need some information for you to determine if they can offer you a hardship program, but it is not as in depth as if you were applying for a loan. And we're gonna get into that here very soon. But exploring this option, it's probably the best one if you have any extra money that you have available in your budget that you can use to paying some of the debt in any particular method that you want to choose. So very important to keep that in mind. But in general, if done as intended, these options will typically have a little or no negative impact on credit, which again, it's going to be very important. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that, about credit, and towards the end of the presentation. But it is important, if you do stick to this, there will not be any negative impact on that. And it's also may allow you to keep your accounts open if that's the goal. Obviously, you gotta ask yourself, if you got yourself in trouble and you owe a lot of money, do you want to keep those credit card opens? And if so, are you going to be disciplined enough to be able to, not pretty much not go crazy again, right? Not go on a shopping spree and get yourself right back at it where you were, and they took you so hard to get out of it. So you got to be very mindful, and really, really take that into consideration when you are doing this approach on your own. And also, we want you to be sure when you're asking and you're making those calls, especially if you want to tackle the option of getting a hardship program, is that when you talk to the creditors, make sure and ask the question: am I able to keep my account open, or does it have to be closed? So those are some of the things that you do want to take into consideration. Now, with that being said, there are challenges if you do it on your own. We all know that, including the need of strict self-accountability to follow through with constant pulls all around to spend your money in other ways or get off track. This is very, very easy for anyone to get off rail. I mean, it truly is. And unless you are a very disciplined person, then we highly encourage you to perhaps look at different options. But something to consider, obviously, if you're choosing to reach out to the credit companies for a hardship program, is that you want to make sure that you are making time for yourself, because sometimes those conversations might last a little while. They might need approval from different managers. I'm sorry, and so you do want to make sure that you do set time aside when you're making these calls. And also, we also know that there's oftentimes people might be a little shy to even have that conversation. So you gotta get a little courage, and be brave enough to make those calls and ask for help. Let them know, explain the situation that you're currently facing, and know obviously that you're going to be at the mercy of the creditors, and in some cases they might decline to push you in any sort of a hardship program or waive any late fees, but you will not lose anything until you give it a try. So highly recommend. And as I stated before, there is a small chance that if the creditors they do grant you a hardship program, that they might freeze or completely close your accounts. So take that, definitely want to take that into consideration if you want to explore, this option, which is doing it yourself. With that being said, let's move on into the next one. And for many of us, perhaps money is very tight. Maybe you don't have enough money. You're probably cutting right at even, or in some cases, maybe running a little short every month. So the good news on this one is that there are options, right? So we want you to know that you always have options. And that's the reason why we want to talk about option number 2, which is the debt consolidation loan. So debt consolidation can come in many different forms. That intent is to borrow money, use the money to pay off other debts, and then have one monthly payment back to the lender instead of sending multiple payments to multiple creditors. A consolidation loan could be unsecured, or in some cases, they might require some type of collateral. So a secure loan, which means something of value, like your, a secure loan, if you're going to go with a secure loan, that means that you're going to have to put something of value, like your home, perhaps a vehicle. You're going to need to put that as a collateral in case of a default. So this could take the form of a home equity loan, a line of credit, or perhaps a title loan. It is imperative that you understand all the terms and what is at risk if something happens and if you were to fall behind on any payments. So we highly recommend that you read the fine print before you sign into a secure loan, and then you are adding anything of value to that loan. So you got to be very, very, very careful. But obviously, you know, as we stated, you have options. So know that if you're a homeowner and you're struggling with debt, maybe exploring taking advantage of the equity that you have built on your house, you know, that might be something that you want to look into. Or if you have a car and your car is paid off, you know, maybe use that as a collateral. So again, you do have options, and debt consolidation loans might help you with that. So you may ask yourself, you know, what are some of the pros if you explore the debt consolidation loans? Obviously, the most important thing here is that you're going to know exactly what your monthly payments are going to be and for how long. So you choose the type of loan that you want to get, and you know exactly how much you're going to be paying. And obviously, the goal of getting you know, a consolidation loan is typically to lock into a lower interest rate, and therefore, ideally, you know, you are going to have a lower monthly payment than the previous payments combined. And obviously, your accounts may not be closed. You might be able to keep your accounts open when you pay off your balances with a consolidation loan. Obviously, that is something that you definitely want to talk to the lender. Some of them might require you to close off that particular account, or they might allow you to keep it open. So you definitely want to ask those questions before you get into a secured loan. And obviously, you know, this may be a con, but however, if you do not stop using the accounts and you acquire more debt, and suddenly you find yourself with a new debt consolidation loan, and you are adding more debt into your credit cards or any other loans that you have, that could be a bad recipe that you don't want to put yourself in. So be very, very careful if that is an option that you want to explore, especially if you do choose this option and you do decide to keep those accounts open. You know that you can always be tempted and dip into those accounts all over again and get yourself back in square one, or even worse, in a worse shape than you were before. So you got to be very, very very careful. I always say, and I tell everyone, that discipline is going to be the key. That is one of the key to be to have a successful plan if you're trying to get out of debt. So with that being said, some of the cons on the flip side of the debt consolidation loan, you know, you definitely want to keep in mind that this loan, you know, definitely you have to apply, and you got to go through an underwriting, and with it, it's going to have an approval process. So that's something that you do need to understand, and all that the lender is going to have to verify your income, any assets, your employment history, obviously your credit, and any amount of debt compared to your income, or what we call your DTI, your debt to income ratios. That is something that is going to be a factor if you know, if you're a great candidate and you're approved for that. You have to make sure you hit all those requirements. So you gotta keep that in the back of your head, you know, if you want to explore this option. Also, a debt consolidation loan may have a negative impact on your credit due to a new inquiry and a new account that will be listed on your credit report. And perhaps most important, you definitely want to take into consideration that if you do decide to go with a secure loan, you are risking your collateral. So be very mindful of that, because remember, you probably put your home or your vehicle, and if you can afford the payments and you fall behind, you know, you got to exercise caution before a secure loan to consolidate and pay off any unsecured debt, especially if there's a hint of financial uncertainty that could lead into making payments consistently a concern. So be very, very careful. The interest rate are typically better on a secure loans because there is less risk to the lender, but it is really important that you weigh the risk to yourself simultaneously when you're doing so. And for example, if you use a home as for a home equity loan, I'm sorry, or a home equity line of credit to consolidate your debt, if something happens and you can't keep up with the payment, your house is now at risk of foreclosure because the home was used as a collateral to secure the loan. So those are some of the things that you do want to take into consideration if you want to explore this particular option. So be very mindful of that. With that being said, up next, we're going to talk a little bit about debt settlement, which can also sometimes be known as debt relief. If you have looked into the internet for help, for debt help, you probably the first things you're going to see on your search engines are going to be the ads for a lot of companies that have a settlement that can help you with your debt settlements. Or perhaps if you watch TV or social media, you might see their ads, or even on billboards. So this, in general, is a solution that is typically best used to help someone to work on cleaning up your debt after it's already too late. So this means that a lot of your debt now, it's all of a sudden with collection agencies. So although sometimes it's used by people for open accounts as well too. So but in most cases, debt settlement companies, would be an option to explore if you're already, behind and you already have, those collection agencies calling you and harassing your phone, and perhaps looking into a debt settlement, might be an option for you to explore. So, and just so you'll know, so with debt settlement, in essence, what you're doing with this part is that you are negotiating between the creditor and the borrower, to pay back a portion of the outstanding debt, while the remaining debt is forgiven. So, for example, you might owe $5,000, and the creditor could agree to a settlement where you will only pay $3,500, and the remaining $1,500 will be forgiven. So I mentioned debt settlement or debt relief companies, but you know what? You can also do this on yourself, on your own as well too. If you want to, you can. You're more than welcome to do that. You will just have to negotiate a settlement with every company that you owe money to. And again, it's also it's worth knowing that it is up to the creditor's discretion if they're willing to negotiate and what a settlement offer could look like for you. It will be typically much easier if you already have the funds to negotiate and pay immediately. And if the account is already past due, that is something to keep in mind. And oftentimes, people have a successful negotiating settlement on those collection accounts because the original creditor already sold that debt, and a collection company bought it, and now they're just trying to make a profit out of it. They will still make money out of it because oftentimes creditors will sell it. They already will take a loss, write it off their books, and then those companies will buy that debt and then try to make their bigger profits from you once that it's already in there. So something that you definitely want to keep in mind. And if you do explore this, you want to make sure that you obtain any settlement offers from, if the creditors agrees to it, you want to make sure that you have that in writing and make sure that you know and you have a clear understanding on how that information is going to be reported to the credit bureaus, which again is going to be something that we're going to talk about here very shortly. And some of the pros when it comes to debt settlement, and that is that obviously, it's going to save you money if you're able to have a successful negotiation between the creditor and yourself. And if you enter into a payment plan or work with a debt settlement company to pay off your accounts you're currently paying, your monthly payments may potentially be lower than what you're currently paying. So that's something, obviously, it's a good thing. And again, settlement can be an option to resolve any outstanding collection account balances quicker. And it can be an option also to avoid anything more drastic or the last resort options like a non-payment or bankruptcy. So very important to know that. Now, we all know that everything has the cons as well too. So it is important to keep several things in mind if you want to consider this option. First, and this is important to know, not all creditors are willing to participate in a debt settlement program or negotiate a settlement with you or with a debt settlement company that's working on your behalf. So that's something that you definitely want to keep in mind. If you are including accounts that are still open and active in a debt settlement program, those accounts will typically go and fall past due. If you work with a settlement company, and the debt settlement company typically hangs on to your payments until a certain amount, certain balance is reached on your account with them, and at which point they reach out to the creditor, I'm sorry, and attempt to negotiate a settlement. Again, remember, it is up to the creditor's discretion if they're going to agree or to agree to negotiate your debt or not. So you gotta know that, and that is something that the settlement company will let you know upfront as well too. So you don't have any surprises. You know, if they come back and say no, we cannot agree to this settlement. In the meantime, if you have any credit cards that are currently in good standing, but you have to put them into your plan, you know, those accounts are going to fall past due, and no payments are going to be made, obviously, on those accounts. And what's going to happen with that is that any late payment fees, any penalties, all of that is going to be accumulated. And as this happens, you know, most likely your account is going to be closed. And all those fees will continue to add. And you're going to start getting all those collection calls. And the creditors, you know, probably, and the reason why that happened is because obviously, you know, when you talk to a settlement company, your creditors are going to be left on the dark, so they don't know what you're doing, they don't know what you're up to, and so you are, you know, you are going to be receiving a bunch of calls, a lot of mail perhaps being sent to you. So, and as those payments they start falling past due, and the balances increases with interest and fees, this is going to lead to a negative impact on your credit score. And those are the two largest factors impacting it. So if the account falls far enough past due, the creditor may send it to the collection or pursue legal action. So you got to be careful with this, because, you know, their goal is to collect the balance that you owe them. So if you're pursuing a debt settlement, please pay close attention to any mail you receive and take immediate action on any legal notices, or if you get any court summons. So always be careful with this, especially if they take it to court. Then that would be something that you don't want to, you know, put yourself into. So if you have agreed to negotiate a debt with the settlement company, and you are receiving those notices, you know, it is best to call and let them know what you're doing, so that they are aware of what's happening, and then you don't run the risk of being taken to court. So be very careful. Be on top of any mail that you receive that is sent to your house. So also another thing to keep in mind is that while you are negotiating a settle balance, this obviously sounds like a good way to save money, but know that this can add an implication with your taxes, because any amount of money that is forgiven, that the settlement company is able to reach for you, that could be, you know, the IRS could see that as an additional income to yourself. So if that is the case, you know, you are probably going to end up paying taxes on any debt that was forgiven as part of a debt settlement plan. So be very, very mindful. Again, we know that there's time and place, you know, that a debt settlement makes sense, especially if you're trying to resolve any old collection accounts. But a lot of people, you know, sometimes they don't know what are some of those implications. And the biggest one, well, the two biggest one, in my opinion, are going to be the one that you know, that you might make your credit worse. Obviously, that will be the case, because you're gonna let everything that you have, any open lines of credit cards, or anything that you have, will have to go past due at least 90 days. And after that, you know, all of that is reported to your credit, and that's going to stay in your credit report for a couple of years. And in some cases, again, you know, you run the risk of being taken to court. And so you got to be very careful if you want to explore this option. But again, like we said, every situation, every person has a unique position that you might be in. And so and perhaps exploring this might be something that you want to look at. So just keep that in mind. Continuing on the list here, we're gonna move into option number 4, and option number 4 is bankruptcy. So bankruptcy is the legal process through in which people who cannot repay the debts or to the creditors may seek relief for some or all of the debts that you may have. Although you can file for bankruptcy on your own, it's highly recommended that you consult with an attorney, and especially because this is a big step that you take in. So you want to make sure that you have all the information, because as I stated before, every person is different, every situation is unique. So consulting with an attorney will be something that is highly recommended that you do before looking and filing for bankruptcy. And I think we all know that there's 2 types of bankruptcies. There's Chapter 13, which does typically still require a repayment through the court for all or a small portion of the debt that you owe. And the most popular one, which is Chapter 7. So this particular chapter is going to allow you to pretty much have all your debts discharged without requiring any repayments, I'm sorry. And so talking with an attorney can help you understand which option might be the best for you. And remember this, many bankruptcy attorneys will offer a free initial consultation to help you get some clarity and on what filing the bankruptcy may look like for you. And here's another thing too. When you talk to an attorney, they are going to be able to help you determine as to whether or not you qualify for Chapter 7. I know Chapter 7 is the most popular one, and that's the one that everyone wants to have because and pretty much in essence, your debt is going to get discharged. But Chapter 13, you still had to pay a portion of it, but know that in order to get Chapter 7, you have to qualify. So an attorney will be able to run an assessment for you and give you a clear picture and a clear understanding as to which chapter makes more sense for you. And if so, which one will most likely be where you're going to be more successful if you were to file for either one of those. So and this is the reason, one of the biggest reasons why we always recommend that you consult with an attorney if you want to explore the bankruptcy option, which is option number 4 here for our list. So with that being said, as we stated, there are pros and cons in every option that we're going to talk about. So with bankruptcy, a pro is going to be that the filing for bankruptcy may be able to stop any adverse action, including any garnishments, any repossessions, foreclosures. And again, and you're probably going to get tired of me saying this, but we highly encourage you to seek legal advice if this is something that you're facing. So bankruptcy might be able to stop collection calls and provide some relief for you there as well too. If you're tired of getting all those harassment calls, exploring this option will completely 100% stop any of those calls. And depending on the terms of the bankruptcy, you may end up paying, may end up not paying anything. I mean, like I said, if you're able to get into Chapter 7 and all your debt gets discharged, you're good to go. So this will be the beauty of filing for bankruptcy. Now, the cons, obviously, there are upfront expenses involved typically. When you file for a bankruptcy, you're going to have to, if you choose an attorney, you're going to have to pay the attorney. Obviously, there are filing fees that you have to pay with the court. And that's something that you have to pay up front before you start anything. And so you have to make sure that you review everything carefully, especially if you want to pursue a Chapter 13, because you are still going to have additional fees on top of that, and you're going to be put on a repayment plan for all your debt. So your income and assets may have an impact on your ability to file and all that, and have your debt discharged, obviously. And not all forms of debts are able to be included in a bankruptcy to be discharged. So this is something that is very important. There are certain debts that cannot be included on your bankruptcy. One that I can think of right up because it's the most popular one is going to be student loans. If you have student loans, unfortunately, those cannot be put on your bankruptcy. It's something that you're going to have to still pay. Taxes is another one. So know that those are some of the things that you have to keep in mind. And also, and this is the one that obviously puts a lot of fear into most people that want to explore a bankruptcy option, and that is that in some cases, bankruptcy can stay with you on your credit record for up to 10 years. So this is going to have a huge impact on your ability to obtain future credit, and the cost of obtaining credit. There's going to be a pretty much what we call an uphill battle for everyone if you want to explore this option. Again, this is important, to for you to know, especially if you want to file for Chapter 13, because that one it will still require you to make repayments. So, you have to be very mindful and know pretty well as to which option you want to get into if you want to file for bankruptcy. So very, very important for you to consult with an attorney. They can give you a lot of information and perhaps run different scenarios and see which option might be best for you. With that being said, we want to move on to the last and final option that we have here for you. And this one, believe it or not, maybe not a lot of people know, but debt management plans. This one might be a great option for many people to explore. And the reason why I say that is because debt management plans are typically for unsecured debt. So any credit cards, any collection accounts, any medical bills, and in some cases, payday or personal loans. This is something that can be put into a debt management plan. Us here at the United States Senate Federal Credit Union, we actually have a partnership with a nonprofit. And this is a credit counseling agency. They're called Green Path Financial Wellness. And they offer a debt management plan to help people become debt free. So you might want to look into this. So and I want to go more in details and give you a clear understanding as to what a debt management plan will do for you. So a debt management plan, in essence, is going to be a plan that you have to talk to a certified financial counselor, and then they will be able to look and, in essence, run numbers for you and see where you are. They're going to review your budget, get an understanding, and see exactly what kind of plan, how much can you afford to make the payments, what kind of payments you can make. And with it, once you have a clear understanding and you have a consultation with a certified counselor, what's going to happen is that they're going to go ahead and reach out to the creditors on your behalf, and they will go ahead and negotiate a repayment plan. Typically, it's going to be anywhere between 3 to 5 years. And with this plan, you will be able to become debt free, and it's a great plan. If this is an option that you want to look into. So, and again, the way it works, as I stated, the credit, in this case, if you work with our partners at Green Path, they were gonna go ahead and reach out to those creditors directly, come up with an agreement. They might be able to help you lower your interest rate and maybe get some of those late fees back, and put you on a plan. Now, it is also important to know that not all the creditors might agree to this particular plan, but they will still accept your payments. And so, in essence, what this plan does for you is that you will send all your money into Green Path, and Green Path, it will handle all the payments on your behalf. There's also a small fee and a monthly fee that you will be charged, and all those fees are regulated by the state. So every state has different regulations, but I do know that the most that they can charge you is $75, and oftentimes that is pretty much it really it's in essence $75 what you will pay. I mean, you can pay up to $75. Obviously, that might not be the fee, but That fee it's in essence will be a still a win-win for you, because you will be able to, one, get a lower interest rate from the creditors, two, establish a plan, and know exactly, where you are, and how long is it going to take you to pay off all your debt. And another thing also that I do want to mention is that with this particular plan, if you do go into a debt management plan, most likely you're going to be required to close your account. So that could have an impact. And that's one of the things that I want to talk about here with the pros and cons. But first, let me talk about into the pros. So if you do decide to go into a debt management plan, with this one, the beauty of this, that there is no credit requirements or approval. And the reason for it is because this is not a loan. This is just an actual debt management plan that you told the creditors that you met with a certified financial counselor, and you want to become debt free, and you have a professional that is working hand in hand, and they're putting you on this particular plan to become debt free. So with that being said, that is a plus. That is something that the creditors want to look into, to make sure that you actually do in fact have someone, a professional, that is advising you on how to become debt free. Also, another key benefit is that as I stated before, this particular plan is structured to pay your debt balances in 3 to 5 years. So you're going to be debt free in 3 to 5 years. So that's great. Also, a debt management plan is going to give you the benefit of putting your money into one place. So you make one deposit, as I stated before, to GreenPath, and then they're going to distribute the payments to the creditors on your behalf. And this is going to make your life much, much easier, because one, you know that you're only making one payment, and you don't have to worry about sending multiple payments to multiple creditors. And finally, one of the biggest pros of debt management plan is that the creditors are going to be able to offer it, and every creditor has different terms that they can accept. So just know that some of those are going to be different, but in many cases we do see that they are able to offer a significant reduction in the interest rate that you're currently paying, which obviously that means that you're going to pay less fees, because you're going to pay less interest, and your monthly payments are going to be lower. And the only downside, again, is that you're going to have to close your account. Another pro that I do want to add here, and that is that oftentimes people might confuse this debt settlement with a debt management. I'm sorry, with a debt settlement. They're totally different. Totally different. And the reason why I say that is because if you remember, with a debt settlement, you stop paying your debt. So what that means is that your accounts, start reporting negative history to your credit report. In most cases, you'll be 90 days late on payments. If you choose this particular debt management plan, you will continue to make your payments. So this could also be that if your credit is struggling a little bit, you might be able to improve your credit, because one, you will never fall behind with your payments. You'll be able to stay on top of your payments and pay less, because if this company is able to negotiate a lower interest rate, you'll be able to pay less. And obviously, with the con, as I stated before, is that you may be required to close some of those accounts, which is fine. If your goal is to become debt free, I don't think you're going to mind it. And as I stated before, it might have an initial impact because those accounts are going to be reported as closed. But as you start making those payments, all that history is going to be reported to the credit bureaus that you're making your payments, and you are paying off the balances. So that's going to be a plus. So this could be a great way to improve your credit score, believe it or not. Also, something that you also have to keep in mind, I think I talked about it before, is that not all the creditors are going to agree to work with you, but they will still accept your payments from GreenPath or any other company that you choose to go with. And as I stated before, there will be a small setup fee, and a monthly fee the most companies are going to charge you for putting you into a debt management plan. So those are the things, and for some reason, not a lot of people know this, but this is definitely a great option to explore. And I highly recommend, if you are struggling with that, if you are running a little short, and if you don't have equity, or you don't have if you don't own a house, or if your car is not paid off and you cannot afford to get a secure loan, then maybe exploring this option might be a good avenue. So I highly recommend that you definitely look into a debt management plan. And the key with this one, as I stated, Green Path is one of the companies that we endorse because we have a partnership with them. But just like Green Path, there are also multiple companies that offer this type of plan as well too. So I do want to make that clear. You do have options to go out there and explore, but when you're doing so, make sure that it is a debt management plan that you're going to put yourself into, and it's not a debt settlement. Please know the difference between a debt settlement and a debt management. That is crucial, because the impacts that each one of these plans have, one is going to be way more beneficial for you and your credit, and the other one will definitely destroy your credit, but you will still be able to get yourself back on track. But obviously there's a lot of more complications with a debt settlement versus a debt management, and that's one of the reasons why we recommend to explore a debt settlement if you are already falling behind and you already have accounts and collection. Because if that's the case, then exploring that option might be the best avenue. But if you're still able to make your payments, but you're struggling and you're trying to find something, a little sign of hope, then again, exploring this option might be one that you might want to look into. It highly recommend it. With that being said, I know I just threw a lot of information at you. I hope at least one of these options that we talked got your attention. I really hope that was the case. And what was I gonna say? Um, whatever option you choose, again, you want to make sure that it is a realistic option for you. That's the first thing that we do. I highly encourage everyone. Those are the 5 options that we recommend. If you are struggling right now with debt, but you're looking for a plan to become debt free, look into those 5 options. But whichever option you choose, again, make sure it's the right one. You want to be honest with yourself and know that there are options there, that you're not alone. And I know that can be scary. It can be stressful. But again, there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. And know that regardless of which option you choose, we definitely want to give you some tips that are going to be important to stay on track towards your goal of getting rid of debt. So with that being said, the first tip that I think you probably get tired of me saying this, but I always encourage everyone to please develop a budget or a spending plan. That's going to be very important. And the reason why I say that is because a budget is really just a plan of knowing where your money is currently going to. And it's designed to help you keep track of making sure your money is going to the places you want it to be going, and help you reach your financial goals. That's the whole purpose of a budget. So having and sticking to a budget will be key to your success when you're paying off your debt. Also, it is important to track your spending and make sure that you are on track with your budget and keep your financial goals. There are various ways to do this. So there's cash envelope systems, there's paper and pencil, spreadsheets, apps, you name it. There's always a strategy to help you keep track of all your spending. Find a way that works best for you, and commit to keeping a close eye on where every dollar is going. We all know how hard it is to earn those dollars. So you definitely want to make sure and have a clear understanding as to where everything is going. And also highly encourage people to have a savings available to fall back in case of an emergency. I know it's kind of like reversing a little bit what I said, but before you get into any debt management plans, make sure that you do have some money set aside. You don't want to send everything and then be left with nothing. So never do that. If you remember my strategy, I always tell and advise everyone that you want to save at least 20% of your income should go into a savings account, especially for emergencies. Up next, look for opportunities to reduce expenses or bring more money in, right? So this is something, the purpose of putting those extra funds, if you are able to get a side gig, get a side hustle, something temporarily, know that it might be worth it. And it's only temporarily, it's only until you pay off all your debt. Then, you can go back to and resume your normal life, whatever it is that you were doing before. And finally, and this is my biggest tip, and that is that you want to stay on track, but know why. All right, so know your why. Why are you doing this? Set clear goals and make sure they're realistic and attainable. That's the most important thing. Have smaller goals and milestones within your large goals to keep you motivated. If you remember what I talk about, those snowball or the avalanche methods, the purpose of those is that you celebrate every little milestone that you hit. You need to celebrate. You need to keep yourself motivated. So it is very important. And also know that you have to know and have a clear understanding, to what is it that you're working towards. Have a plan that you can realistically it's gonna get you where you want to be. And as I stated, I'll never get tired of saying this: celebrate your success every step of the way. It's very, very important. I thank you all for coming in and being part of this webinar. Before we come to the end, I do want to share the information for GreenPath, as I stated before. So they are a nationwide nonprofit that provides financial education and tools and empowering people's, with their financial healthy lives. Also, as I stated before, they do provide certified financial counselors that can conduct a free confidential assessment with you. This involves taking a look at your budget, collaborating and develop an action plan to help you work towards your financial goals. But they don't just do a debt management plan. They also provide all the resources such as budget and credit report reviews, help assistance with rent, mortgage, and home buyer counseling, and student loan counseling as well too. As I stated, if you're thinking about filing for bankruptcy, any student loans cannot be included in your bankruptcy. So that's something that you want to keep in mind. And if you want to reach out to them, this is their contact information. I thank you all for being and coming on board. I know I shared a lot of information, and you're probably tired of hearing me because this was a lot of information, but I hope it was helpful and great information. So, Eddie, let me send it right back to you, sir.
Thank you, Milton. Amazing presentation. Thank you very much for that information. I definitely learned something new this evening. But we appreciate you for doing that. Thank you for that information as well. And thank you for everybody that's still logged on with us. I know we passed over, the 7 o'clock time that we always talk about. But we appreciate you. And I do see some questions. Do you see some questions on you and Andrea?
Yes, I see it. There's one in particular I see.
All right, go for it.
So I currently have a 0-month student loan payment with the SAVE plan. What I mostly want to get rid of is the credit cards. Would a management company work with me on consumer debt and ignore the student loans in my payment plan?
That's a great question, Andrea, and the answer for that, obviously, we would like to know, so if you have a 0% interest on your student loans, that's great. I think everyone will definitely want to be there. But if you are struggling with your credit cards and any other loans, I think, in your case, especially if you haven't fallen behind, if you're not past due, then absolutely that debt management option might be something that you might want to explore. Just because I know that that's going to be one avenue that's going to help you, is get a better grip, I'm sorry, of your debt. And also it won't have a big negative impact on your credit, which I think is very important for everyone. I think out of all of these 5 options, option 1, which is do it on your own, or debt management, are the best option if you do not want to take a big hit on your credit. So those 2 options is what I would recommend. But in this particular case, I think that perhaps a debt management plan might be the best avenue to explore. Again, as I stated, if you do want to have a consultation, this is the contact info for our partners. You're more than welcome to do your own research as well too. Just know that when you're doing so, make sure that you are in fact looking for most of these companies are actually, believe it or not, are going to be nonprofits, and they're national nonprofits, and they provide certified financial counselors. So make sure that you are in fact talking to one of these type of companies, and it's not one of those debt settlements. Because if that's the case, then you might be in for a wild ride. So, but yeah, absolutely, I'll highly recommend exploring debt management for this particular person. And they can even assist you and give you counseling on your student loans, and put that perhaps implement it into a budget for you that they might be able to assist you and create one. So I hope that answered that question.
Milton, that was a great answer. I like the way you explained that. And then, like you were saying earlier in the presentation, it depends on, what you're trying to accomplish when it comes down to paying off your debt. Whatever journey you have going on is the same journey I will have going on. So everybody has, their own journey that they have to go through. But like you were saying, there's always light at the end of the tunnel, meaning that there's always hope. There's always the help, as you can see on the screen. And even, I believe, Carrie shared the link for GreenPath, if that's correct. Yes, there is GreenPath. She shared that. And Carrie, remind us, what's the price to use the GreenPath services for our members? I know there's a price for it. What's the price?
Well, I'm not saying what you want me to say, with free $99, but that you should just call them. They walk through, they'll go as in depth as you want. They'll do a credit review with you. They'll walk through your credit report, explain everything, answer your questions. They're certified counselors. I use them myself, actually. When I got offered the job at the credit union, I had debt, and I had to submit a letter that said how I was going to take care of it, and they helped me, and they're really good people there. So and you don't have to use their services at all. Like, if you just want to talk to a counselor, like, you should. Sorry, but it's $330. Okay, I said it. Did I say it right? $399.
$399. And then just to emphasize what Carrie was saying, you're more than welcome to use GreenPath Financial Wellness Services. And just to give you peace of mind, it's completely confidential. Whatever you talk to them regarding your debt or whatever it is that you want to accomplish is between you and them. So whenever you get that certified counselor, just know that that's between both of you. Milton, there's a question that came in the anonymous chat, but I believe you already answered this, but can you emphasize it for the people that perhaps still has that question in mind? Can student loans be included in debt management plans?
So that is something that, again, you will be able to talk to a certified counselor for that. It is my understanding that that is something that they won't be able to reduce any interest rate for you, but they can send those payments on your behalf. So yes, that's something that you can put into the debt management plan. They will send the payments. They will accept your payments. But if you have any high interest rates or anything like that, that might be something that that they may help you explore different options. But student loans are always a tough call, Eddie. That's always tough.
And that's the reason why these people are certified, because they have, the expertise. They know what's best. They can see all the scenarios, and they're going to explain to you, like, if we do plan A, this is going to happen. Plan B, this is going to happen. So just make sure you talk to them and just communicate your worries. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say that in some cases, and again, listen, we don't want to sound like we are we're pushing for a green path. I mean, that's not what that's not the intention of this call. But obviously, definitely there is one reason why we want to put a lot of emphasis, and the reason for it is because oftentimes people are not aware of this option. And it truly is a great option, and especially, we talk about so much about credit and the importance of credit. This is definitely a great resource, a great tool, because you don't want to put yourself into a situation where you are filing for a settlement, or even worse, as a last resort, filing for a bankruptcy, regardless if it's Chapter 7 or 13. Chapter 7, it stays on your record for up to 10 years. Chapter 13 is going to be there for 7 years. So if you're looking to buy a house, those are something that the lender will look into, and perhaps, it's going to have a huge complication if buying a house is something that you have in mind. And if so, is it going to be within the next 7 years? And if it is, filing for chapter either 7 or 13 would really have a huge impact on that decision. So, and that's also another reason why I highly recommend that everyone, speaks to an attorney. And thank you, Gary. I know you added this on the notes. In most cases, having that initial consultation with an attorney will be free 99. And they will not charge you. They will just give you a clear understanding, and again, can walk you through, and then you can talk to them and let them know, be upfront as to what are some of those goals and plans that you have in the long term and short term, and so they might be able to help you and guide you, with choosing that decision. So especially if you're thinking about bankruptcy, Chapter 7 versus 13, the differences and the 3-year gap in between one and the other one, and how long they stay in your credit. So that's something that you do want to keep in mind.
And then when you mentioned Chapter 7, that 7 number is very magical for some reason here at the credit union. So if you have any questions after this webinar, you call our 800 number and you click option 7. Kim, who do they get to talk to if they choose option 7?
You can always say my name, Kim Fridley, and you can get to me. I wanted to add a little bit to that, if I may. We always recommend that you go to annualcreditreport.com and get your free credit report. You won't get your score, but you can look at your credit. If you are not in financial distress, if you just have credit card debt and you're tired of paying that monthly payment, depending on the balance, it can take you 17 years to pay that back. You can always, as a member, apply through our consumer lending department for a consolidation loan to, put all that debt together for a set term and a set payment amount each month, close those cards, get our credit card, and start your new path. I was young once myself and had credit card debt, and that's what I did. I didn't have a bad credit score. My debt to income ratio was good. I just needed help getting that debt off of my plate, if that makes sense. I just wanted to throw that out there as well.
And then by you saying that, there was an anonymous question that came, and I believe that will be the last question of that evening. I have a friend that had a lot of debt, and they got a home equity loan to pay that debt. Would you recommend a home equity loan to pay my debt, or a consolidation loan, as you mentioned? So which one would you all recommend when it comes to that?
I'm all about the home equity. If you have equity in your home, that interest rate is going to be a lot lower than a personal loan. We actually have a very unique product. It's called a homeowner loan. No one else, no other financial institution that I know of offers this type of loan, where you don't even have to have the equity. We'll even place our lien as third lien holder. You can have a first and a second. So, and the rate is much lower than a personal loan. So I'm always, and the panelist team can chime in, I'm always about taking advantage of that equity because of the rate. And you may even be able to take the interest off on your taxes, maybe.
That is true. I endorse Kim for that. My name is Milton, and I endorse Kim. But yeah, absolutely. But again, obviously, as we stated, I think one of the main things that one of the main reasons why we did this is that you always want to make sure that you look at what are the pros and what are the cons. So that's something that you want to keep in mind, and we want to be very clear. We want to be transparent and know that if you do use your equity, that you are putting that as a collateral. That's something that you are securing your loan with. And yes, it is great. It's perfect. It works amazing. But it also takes a lot from us too, right? We need to take accountability. We need to be disciplined, as I like to say, because when you pay off all the debt, those in most cases, we're going to allow you to keep those loans or credit cards open, and getting back in debt all over again and having two debts, accumulated might become a nightmare for you. So, and especially if you have explored and you are taking advantage of your equity, that could be a big headache down the road. So be very mindful, always, do your budgets. Please. If no one has ever done a budget, today is the day to do one. And that's going to give you a clear understanding, give you that clear picture as to where you are with your finances, and then use that as your, I don't want to get religious here, but that should be like your Bible, right? Like, know where you are, know where everything is coming and where everything is going, and how much I'm able to put aside, and what are some of the risks, what are some of those consequences, if something was to go bad. Am I saving enough money for in the case of an emergency? Do I have enough money to keep me up afloat for 3 months or more? So those are all of the things, all the answers that a budget will be able to answer for you, and you don't have to scramble, and you don't have to look like a chicken without head, right? Running crazy when you are put in a tough situation. So I don't want to be negative here. I just want to be very realistic and give you that understanding that that it's important to have an actual budget. So thank you.
With that being said, it was a great night, great questions, great answers as well. Kim, thank you for bringing your expertise. Milton, amazing presentation. Andrea, you did great as well, reading the questions, and giving us your feedback. And Carrie, as usual, we appreciate all the links and the content and everything that you provide.
Eddie, before we go, I just saw another question there. I think that somebody was a bit confused about GreenPath. If there's a $399 fee. No, the answer is no, there is not a $399 fee. That fee, I'm not sure where the number came from. When you talk to them first, it's going to be a free consultation. If you do decide to go and get into the debt management plan, that plan itself is going to have a small setup fee and also a monthly fee, but that fee cannot exceed more than $75. It all depends on how much debt you have. And based on that is what is going to determine how much you're going to pay on a monthly basis. And in most cases, whatever you pay to them is definitely not even a small fraction as to how much money you're saving by enrolling into the program. But no, $399 is not accurate. So I want to make sure I clarify that. I think, Carrie, I saw you coming off mute too.
Oh, I was just going to say that came from me because Eddie wants me to say free 99, and that sounds like 3. So we won't be making that joke anymore. Eddie, note your books.
I'll pronounce it better, but it's okay. Free. It's free. That's what it comes down to. So thank you very much, everybody. We appreciate each one of you for being here with us. Carrie.
Don't forget next week. Another webinar.
Same channel at the same time. What's the topic, Milton? Just before we head out.
We're going to talk all about navigating life transition, so strategies for financial stability. So if anyone here is just getting out of college, you just got married, you just had your first baby, you name it, you just got divorced, we're throwing a party. Whatever it is that you are going through, come over and be with us next week. It's going to be an exciting webinar next week too. And I think, Eddie, will you be presenting next week, Eddie?
We'll see. You have to tune in to see what happens, what surprises this weekly Wednesday webinar season 2 brings. You never know what's going to happen. With that,
stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Thank you very much.